Adam Rayner is the only person in recorded history to have grown from being medically defined as a dwarf to ultimately as a giant in his lifetime. There is little known about Rayner, who was born in Graz, Austria, to parents who were both of average height. By the time he reached his teenage years, it had become clear that he was shorter than most boys in his town. In 1917, at the age of 18, Rayner attempted to join the Austro-Hungarian army to fight in the First World War. However, he was rejected for army service due to his diminutive stature and perceived weakness. At the height of 4 foot 6 inches, Rayner was unusually short for his age and classified as having dwarfism, a term which is no longer used. As such, he was shorter than the 4 foot 10 cutoff for army recruitment at that time, so denied acceptance for wartime service. A year later, he had grown 2 full inches and again tried to enlist. However, he still fell below the height requirement and again was unsuccessful in joining up. Intriguingly, although Rayner was very short, physicians noticed that he had extremely large hands and feet for his small stature. The first time Rayner had applied to enlist in the army, doctors recorded that he wore a US men's size 10 shoe, a European 43. 3 years later, his foot size had doubled to a US size 20 or European 50, despite the fact that he had not grown much in height. In 1920, Rayner was still slight in stature, and records show that he was also very thin. At 21 years old, the usual age a person stops growing, it was assumed that Rayner's height was set for the rest of his life. But then something surprising took place. Rayner didn't just grow another 2 inches, he continued to grow many more inches, and at an alarmingly accelerated rate, without any indication of slowing down. At some stage in his 20s, Rayner had started to grow very tall very rapidly. By the time of his 32nd birthday, he stood just under 7 feet 2 inches. In the early 1930s, Rayner sought medical help and was examined by Austrian physicians Dr. A. Mandel and Dr. F. Windholz. They diagnosed him with acromegaly, a rare disorder wherein the body produces too much growth hormone. In Rayner's case, his medical team determined that the acromegaly causing his sudden growth spurt originated from a benign tumour pressing against his pituitary gland. The condition had produced not only his abnormally large hands and feet, but facial characteristics associated with it. An elongated face due to his protruding forehead and jaw, and thick lips set over widely spaced teeth. He was also suffering excess tiredness and issues with his spine, which had increasingly curved sideways amidst his massive growth spurt. Rayner's doctors were successful in surgically removing the tumour in an intricate procedure via his nose. They hoped that once it was gone, his growth spurt would also come to an end. However, by now, the tumour had been progressing for over a decade, so that although the surgery greatly slowed down the rate at which Rayner was growing, he nevertheless continued to gain in inches. A few months after his operation, Rayner's doctors measured him and found that while his standing height stayed the same, his spinal curvature was worsening, which indicated that he was continuing to grow. As Rayner's growth continued post-surgery, his health progressively deteriorated. Eventually, he was unable to stand on his own and lost sight in his right eye and hearing loss in one ear. He passed away in 1950 at age 51, measuring 7 feet 8 inches tall. Adam Rayner was the first widely known case of acromegaly. However, many people have lived with the disorder throughout history. Today, if detected and treated early, the affected person will have a normal life expectancy. Acromegaly affects 50 to 70 million people each year worldwide, with some of its most common symptoms being enlarged hands and feet. This explains why Rayner's physicians were so perplexed by the size of his hands and feet in comparison with his then small body. Another symptom of acromegaly experienced by Rayner is the change in facial shape, with often an enlargement of facial features. Many well-known people have lived with acromegaly and sometimes used the striking features to good effect. These include 2 actors who have portrayed the character Lurch in productions of The Addams Family, Ted Cassidy and Carell Strucken, and actor Richard Keel, who played the villain Jaws in 2 James Bond movies. Adam Rayner lived his difficult life with dignity and stoicism. To date, he is the only person recorded in medical history as being classified as both a dwarf and a giant in one lifetime.